But basically, we'd like to give some tours on economic development activities and things happening in the community. So we'll be driving around the entire city today, hopefully in a 1.5 to 2 hour span to kind of talk about things. Obviously, we're in downtown Waterloo here. You can see KWL building back there that we did a development agreement with. They utilize historic tax credits, brownfield tax credits, our brownfield assessment grant, which we have a $400,000 grant from the EPA to help look at phase 1 and phase 2s of sites to make sure that there's no problems with them in terms of brownfield activities. Paul Hudding is here to talk if he wants to talk. If you have any questions about the improvements happening at Lincoln Park.
$1 million. Donations accepted. End of story.
Bake sale at the end. We are coming up on Franklin Street here. And of course, Franklin Street will be starting to be reconned in the next couple of years, so we're looking at this entire streetscape as we'll be going along this corridor to see what improvements we can make for pedestrian accommodations, streetscaping, possibly looking at putting the utilities underground, things like that. On the right-hand side here, you may recall we helped Earth Beauty Supply come here, then they did an expansion and a build-out for the Harold's Chicken, which is now being remade into a new restaurant there. Behind that, you have the Walnut Historic Neighborhood. We're partnering with Habitat, with JSA for the rehabilitation and construction of several homes in that area. We just conveyed 5 lots and 2 houses to Habitat recently in a development agreement. So we've lessened some maintenance activities on there for the city, and it's helping Habitat kind of build that center in Walnut. To the right, immediately to us, of course, we help the CVS Pharmacy. But then on their outlot here, we have the All-In Grocers. All-In Grocers is currently going through the new market tax credit process. It's a federal tax credit. So they're going to be coming back to us with further information as to what else we may need to restructure to potentially help them make that work, or if they can make it work with the existing development agreement in place.
What part of the Salvation Army want?
Right here. Yeah.
This lot.
Yep, there was a house there that we took through 657A. It had been empty for about 8 years, I want to say. They'd like to put that with their campus. Right now they're doing a campus master plan layout. That should be done in about October. Then they'll be coming back to us. A couple years back, the roads went in. That was actually, there used to be a road there. It was a cutoff because originally they wanted to make Franklin and Mulberry one-way couplets. They never did that, so there was no purpose for that roadway there. We eliminated that roadway. This is owned by Mid-America Energy. The majority of this land in here where it's mowed a little bit shorter is privately owned. So that is a redevelopment site, and of course the former KFC building here needs some work, possibly redevelopment as well. This is located, we are in the Logan TIF district right here, so we have the ability to try and help some of these things happen. The city also owns a couple of small lots here along Broadway where we took down some 657As, and actually there was one where we took down a former cleaner site, so it is a brownfield, so there's some restrictions on the rebuild there. But again, this is a major corridor. Of course, this is one of our overlay districts for the alcohol ordinance to try and lessen the number of liquor selling establishments.
Will you tell us when we're going from one TIF to another? Would that be too hard?
When
Forget it.
Adrian makes a note to me, yeah, no, I can do that. And remember, the Logan and the Midport TIFs are joined now in terms of being able to go back and forth between them. A lot of cities have done that to give themselves a little bit more flexibility for redevelopment, especially in the tougher neighborhood areas,
So
we'll call it, like this one.
big TIF?
We kept them as separate districts, but they actually are connected as one, so we can move funds from one to the other.
Even though they're 2 TIF?
They're one TIF, but we keep track of them separately for reporting purposes, just for our own records more than anything.
You call it the Logan TIF?
It's called the East Unified TIF District. On the right-hand side here, this is a former Schultz Manufacturing, great redevelopment project. Chris Fischels and his partners have redone that. That building is full. They've got some land in the back. We're actually looking at the potential of putting a road connection from Clark Street that ends right behind here over to David Street. That way, in case there's a fire or something and the train tracks are blocked, we would have another access in and out of there. We're looking at the potential of that right now.
Where is
On the left-hand side is Lehman's Blue Building. Again, that was done with the Cura program, because it was a smaller project. So we're in the Cura district as well. The Cura works for a lot smaller projects. It's just a tax abatement program, generally under $1 million buildings, or even maybe under $500,000 buildings. It really works. It's a lot easier process for them. That is Lehman Excavating. He's the one that does a lot of demolitions for us in terms of the 657A process.
There, sorry. Widen the bump.
Sure, I was too. I am too, and it didn't bother me.
You notice how smooth these roads are? A lot of these roads were redone under the stimulus plan when Obama became president. So the nice thing was, the mayor's telling me something, I didn't get it.
Did we go past the garbage dump place that Pat was always complaining about?
Yes, we did. I must have forgot to bring that up.
Okay, ask
Only good news.
guys.
Oh, okay.
No,
It was right back there by the Schultz manufacturing site.
no, who's responsible for the old grocery store location in Tuesday?
Right now, it is owned by Rodney Anderson. I mean the all-in grocers?
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've got complaints about the weeds.
About the mowing?
Okay, want to check.
Okay. Well, I can tell you more. Some of that has to do with the new market tax credits, how much they're supposed to do, but they should still be able to stay in compliance. So, yeah. Again, now we're in the Midport TIF. The Midport TIF was specifically brought down the Broadway corridor to try and make some improvements in here. As you can see on the right-hand side especially, we have some vacant land, but we also had some older dilapidated buildings or older buildings.
Any of that?
We do not own any land down this far. But the city of Waterloo, in our TIF districts, the majority of our TIF districts, we have private and public land in, so that we can help hopefully bring in partnerships from private people developing their land as well. And we try to make the deals for private land or our city land the same, again, to try and continue to motivate them to invest in their lands, so that we're not doing everything. Over here on the right-hand side, again, this is the county site. You may recall there's a park back there that they actually own, but Paul maintains. We've been trying to get ownership of that. We'll continue to work with the supervisors on that so we can know that that's a permanent park location. We have another large park about 2 blocks away that we'd like to redevelop into housing, because we don't need park locations at both of them, and only one of them has equipment right now. So again, we'll continue to work with the supervisors on those discussions. We don't want to lose the other site and then for some reason have them never renew that one and lose the park in that location, because it's pretty vital to that neighborhood, as there'd be no other parks on that side of Broadway, and Broadway's not safe for kids to pass and things like that. So coming up here on the right-hand side again is Attorney Manufacturing. This is actually a 306.23 land sale process that we did as a part of the Broadway corridor. We sold him that site when he was looking to expand in this area. He's actually done 2 expansions since he's located here. Behind that, you may recall, is the Hill Piper sewer ordeal, where we actually had to go back and work with Mr. Hill Piper to relocate a sewer through that area back into some of his property, because the original sewer was damaged and it was in the floodway area. This one's in a better location for them to get to. To the left of us, just behind the tree line, is Brinker Lake. You may not be aware, maybe many of you are, we actually have a mining deal with Basic Materials for Brinker Lake. So the city makes about $42,000 a year in that mining contract, and basically they're paying us mining money while we're also getting them to do what we want, which is expand the lake and create more recreational opportunities for Waterloo. It does. It does. He was testing how long I could hope.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
We've got at least 2 more years on our land. Then there's some private land owned by the Brinkers there, including this land right back here. Basic Materials was looking, they bought mining rights on this land, so the lake could at some point get all the way up here to Broadway.
Breaker still owns some of it?
Yeah.
Didn't they have plans at one time to actually develop that?
Yeah.
Lake Shore?
They'd come in a couple times with ideas of a housing plan and things like that over there, but they never had a developer to do it. Yeah.
We wanted the city to do it.
We're coming up on the Waterloo Regional Airport. So the city of Waterloo owns over 400 and some acres of land out here that we have released from the FAA. So going back in time, a lot of the land was bought with federal money. As we've released land, we've had to pay market rate, we've had it appraised, and we pay that back into a fund. The feds don't actually take the money back. It goes into a fund that can be used for airport-related purposes.
For our airport?
Our airport, yep. So the most recent one and I think we're going to turn up here, but we'll see. Just back that way a little ways is that 200,000 square foot building that's on the council agenda. So we just had to pay, I think it was about 15 or 16,000 an acre for that land out there. It goes into a fund which will help Keith with future projects.
Even though we didn't get money.
Correct. We pay that money out of the TIF district to make these things happen. And again, the reason we try to do that is that way the land is ready to go. It's released from the FAA. That takes quite a while process going through them. But this way we have it ready for prospects when they're ready to go. Left. We're going to go left here, but if we went straight, the advanced heat treat where the crane is, advanced heat treat is doing their expansion. As you may recall, that was...
But you're still taking us past the other new building, right? Yes.
We were not, no. There's nothing to see yet.
Oh.
It'd just be straight back there on vacant land, yeah.
But that's not where Poe is, or...
No, that'll be up here.
Right here.
We're turning left onto Geraldine Road. So the state of Iowa has what's called the RISE program, Revitalize Iowa's Sound Economy. It is DOT money that we can go for to build roads for economic development. There's two types of projects we can go after: immediate opportunity and general development. We started the first phase of this, which is this first section, because of LaForge relocated to Waterloo after the 2008 flood. Really, the choosing factor was this site was located 10 feet higher in elevation than their previous site, and they flooded by 8 feet, so they thought they'd be safe here. They could LaForge Industries, and if you look at the location or the layout of the building, it's all angled on one side, so they could actually put a mirror on the other side of that and double in size. Is how that building was laid out on there. We then went and got more RISE funding to build the second part. So the RISE money comes, the DOT will typically pay 50%, and then we match that with local option sales tax to, again, utilize some of that road money for economic development. Here's the spec building that was just built by Brent Dahlstrom last year on your left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is a spec building he built the year before, and Kinsler Industries bought it right away from him. So he's had very good success with buildings out here in the airport area because they're located close to Highway 218 for transportation purposes, and it's a nice industrial area because businesses generally don't want to be by residential either. Downtown Johnstone Supply, you may recall we helped buy them out so they could expand. This is their new building out here in the industrial park again. That's about a 30,000 square foot building. We didn't want to have a large warehouse wall system downtown. We wanted to put that back toward residentially friendly type development. But again, this was the third phase of Geraldine Road with RISE money. And you can see there's still some more lots out here to develop, so we continue to show those to people that have an interest in being in the airport area as to how we would help them come out here. Generally what we would do is we would either buy the land from them from the developer, or they would buy the land and we would offer them additional rebates. So that's why sometimes it looks like, wow, they're giving them a lot in rebates versus Cedar Falls. Cedar Falls gives them 5 years, Waterloo gave them 10. Remember, Cedar Falls built all their own stuff, their own infrastructure and all this, where we had some developers partnering with us. So a lot of times Cedar Falls is putting more money up front, whereas we're putting it through the rebates on the end, which again is less risky to us.
Is this all called something?
We just call it the Geraldine Road area right now. To your left, back behind these buildings, is our 400-acre site. So we are working with Standard. They will be building a 50,000 square foot building in the near future. We are also extending rail off of the Canadian National main line to build out basically a rail park. I'll come back to that. This cornfield we just went by too as well. When we helped Criterion Manufacturing go into this building, this is the old Control-Effects, they were on Burton Avenue next to Accurate Gear. They both wanted to expand. This building was a lot bigger than either one of those, so Accurate Gear expanded into the other Criterion building, going from 20,000 to 40,000. Criterion, then went to this building, which is about 80,000, and they're in 50,000 there, and then there was 6 acres next to that we bought. Whichever, left is fine. So we helped 2 businesses expand, and then we gained some additional land, and we actually have a project we're working on right now for about a 32,000 square foot building that'll go on a portion of that 6 acres. So again, we're looking at trying to meet immediate needs and future needs.
Hey, no, just a real quick question. Do we have anything to make sure that the consistency of the area looks good? You know, like instead of old semi things there or stuff, but something that talks about the way that it looks so they can have a consistent feel.
We generally try to tell them that to make it look compatible or better than the existing buildings in the area, but we can and a lot of times those site plans and drawings will be included in the development agreement for council to see as well. So we can definitely look at more design criteria if we want, and move ahead with that. Here's Waterloo Tent and Tarp. They're looking at doing an expansion. We also have this lot right behind us that we have a new prospect looking at. It would actually be a doggy daycare. The reason they like this is because a lot of people would be dropping off dogs that would be going to the airport.
Is that the one that was gonna go?
Correct.
That had the big, okay.
That had residential against it, so they don't want to be by residential. Keith is excited to have that as a facility out here at the airport area. It's a small lot, so it would work well for that size of a building. This is Midport Boulevard. Again, this was built in 2 or 3 phases, as part of the ConAgra deal. We built the first one and it served ConAgra, and there's the advanced heat treat expansion underway right there. This originally went down here to ConAgra, then stopped. When ConAgra did their first edition, we built it a little bit further. When they did their last edition, we were able to connect it back to Airline Highway. The importance of that is now if there's a train going across on the tracks down there, you can still get out by using this road. So the Waterloo Airport is never blocked off by the trains now because the train actually turns before getting to this road. Plus it gives us some more lots for development purposes along this stretch. The lots on your left-hand side are actually reserved for airport-related industry, because anything locating on them could actually have a direct pathway back to a runway. The lots on the other side are released for industrial development, such as the standard forwarding project, which we should be coming up on after we get past ConAgra. Here's ConAgra. You may recall their last project. So this is the pudding plant. They actually added David sunflower seeds as another product coming out of there. So again, it's good to have the multiple type of things coming out of there to help ensure the longevity of the site. Here's a standard forwarding building. We actually moved this out of the Rath area. I think it doubled in size from the size it was there. But that was the one building that we had to move for the Human Services campus, which has the food bank, the Department of Corrections, and Operation Threshold. As we come around the turn here, or the curve, so that is the site right where the 200,000 square foot building will be going. We actually laid out that site as 2 parcels and put them together so that they could have access onto Midport here as well as onto Wagner Road.
So it would be part of the corn?
Correct.
So do you factor in how much income you lose from that?
We'll be looking at that. You know, they're waiting for final approval to really get into their final design phases to see how fast. Hopefully we can wait for the corn to be harvested and then go and build. Further back, just to the left side, but back, you can see the row of buildings where it ends, and the city has about 6 lots back there on about 15 acres that we bought, or 18 acres that we bought a while back. Family member had passed away. They wanted to sell part of the farm. We went ahead and platted 6 more lots, very similar to the rest of them along Wagner. We actually have interest in 2 or 3 of them right now, so we're moving ahead with some final stages there. Engineering department helped us design a sewer system to serve them as well. You know, in terms of moving ahead with further things in the area too, you get into some of these areas over here. We have one landowner specifically, he's kind of in a hole where there's no sewer. So again, we're utilizing that TIF funds to look at buying land, looking at bringing businesses here, but also looking at completing the infrastructure layout to try and make some of these sites developable that are not immediately developable.
We didn't go past proposed land.
No, we were trying to stand to the, yeah. That adds like 20 minutes on, so Adrian chucked it.
Sure. Let's blame it on her.
On the left-hand side, this is all floodway. So we actually traded some land down on WCF&N by Hydrite for the paintball guy to go in. So that utilized that very nicely in terms of he could go in there. It was land we couldn't build on, so we traded for some land we could build on. On On the left-hand side is Alter. So we have some scrap yards in this area. Generally, you know, they're not an easy thing to locate. There is a newer one to the right-hand side here that again, we're locating it by other recycling and salvage yards, makes it a little bit easier for the neighbors. We're turning on WCF&N. On the right-hand side here is the Hydrite expansion. Hydrite has actually done about 4 expansions the last 10 years and added about, I want to say 25 to 30 employees. They're very well-paying jobs. So they usually go through the state process for some of that. But what they do is they basically bring in chemicals and make mixes for different companies, for different seed corns, things like that. And they're, like I said, heavily expanding into the area. That is a 1 million gallon tank back there. The 4th one back. So again, if you want to see 1 million gallons, there it is. On the left-hand side here, just past where the fence ends, that is the site that we recently are acquiring. We're going through the process right now with the EPA Phase 1 and Phase 2, but that's at, I want to say it was a 4-acre site that we had recently acquired from Gladys Properties. Again, it's a nice infill development site right off of a road. Plus we have Hydrite expanding, so we're also looking at the potential of some of their subcontractors wanting to be close to them and locate on land nearby. You can see this general area. Oh. What's that?
You just went past the power engineer.
They're not doing anything recently, no.
They're hired.
But you did see we just went over a levee system, so there is some floodplain improvements that we'll be doing here in the near future. We own the land on the left-hand side there that we need to put in a detention pond for. The seed company. They have not done any expansions recently either. There's one of our lift stations.
Very nice.
Looked nice, didn't it? That was the Titan. And again, back on your left-hand side, that's the park we were talking about earlier, where we have some nice equipment there, but it's actually on county-owned land. And talking with, yeah, there's all residential on the other sides of it, so that's where we like to keep the park there. The county would still have land on WCF&N for if they need to expand. Interesting thing talking to the county is they don't plan to expand, because as you move into the future and cities expand, the county should have less and less responsibility. So.
And that's county property right behind us?
Correct.
What do they do there, do you know?
And that is basically their salt and storage and all their equipment for road maintenance. Turning onto Donald Street, so this is currently the detour because of the Highway 63 project. I don't want to say it's ideal to have truck traffic going through there, but you don't have much choices right now. Yeah.
Well, your
I
fault,
haven't got
maybe.
any calls yet, but I'm sure I'm going to.
This is Burton Avenue right here, coming up on the left-hand side. If you look as we go through the intersection, that is a former Van Eaton school site. So after the flood money, we were actually able to build 4 houses just over the curve there. We actually have some additional land in that area. And again, right behind these houses is that other park area that we have that we could, if we could reutilize that for residential, it would help us eliminate some mowing costs for leisure services. On the right-hand side, you see the trail system. The Waterloo Cedar Falls area, I think, has over 115 miles of trails now. This one was specifically put in. It comes actually down by Hoeing Rice, connects to the school, eventually connects into George Wythe Park, but then also hooks back up to the Logan Plaza area. So we specifically try to design the trail thinking that there may be school users, bicyclists, kids going to the ball fields, things like that, or going to the hospital or shopping. Gates Park with all of these trail systems in here. So as we're coming up to the intersection here with Highway 63, You'll see that the continuing expansion of the campus of the hospital is on the right-hand side. And of course, Logan Plaza will be on our left-hand side coming up
We
here.
in Logan Tiff now?
We're in the Logan TIF now, yes.
We just did it.
Right where I said it.
The point, right where you said, yeah.
I think it's actually probably right about here or the last street, actually, because we usually go up streets for legal description purposes. Here's one of our fire stations. Back behind that, of course, is Allen College. So again, Allen has a huge presence in this area, so we've been glad to partner with them for a lot of the things that they've done in the past. We've vacated some roads when they did their last emergency room expansion as they were relocating some houses, but also working with them on the college, working with them on the Logan Plaza area. Walgreens over there, you may recall, used to be a parking lot for Allen. So again, they've been a very good partner in trying to bring other businesses to this area as well. They relocated some of their parking over to the north side of their campus versus that side to allow the Walgreens to occur there as well. You can see the new Quick Star being built. Here at the corner. As you may recall, we did a development agreement with Ben Stroh for the acquisition of about 60 acres in this area for Logan Plaza. He demolished the former Logan Plaza. He has multiple phases to bring a new convenience store, a car wash, medical buildings, about $9.1 million in total projects. It'll also include a restaurant and some retail space. You can see they've started with the medical in the partnership with Allen. They've also got some ability for some retail over here.
They still put up that hotel that I was.
There is a hotel design right behind the Quick Star. I actually sent an email to the mayor about the new Quick Star, and it still showed the outline of a hotel there. So I said, you know, they're not actively working with a hotel right now, but they still have it planned out to try and go after that. The reason we like a hotel there is Allen has a lot of people that can't stay in the hospital, but they should stay nearby after surgeries and things like that. So we think it's a nice compatible use. But you can see they're doing a very nice job back here at the medical buildings. And basically the whole layout of this area.
Where does Sundrum land start?
So Sundrum is right back there, right on the other side of the fenced area. Or he's over there a little ways, but basically that fenced area. You can see Dr. Sundrum's office back there, and his second expansion is about done. So you know it's going very well out here.
That's where I got to go for my stress test.
I've gone there for tests, yeah.
You know, Ben is also the one that redid the former Kmart Plaza building there at San Martin and LaPorte by the Panera. And so that was when we were working with him on this. We knew he'd do a good job for design and all that. So he's been a very good partner.
But he doesn't still have where Kmart was, does he? Does he still
Yes,
own
yep.
some of that?
He owns pretty much all the land out there. Yep. And he did go to East High, so he has a love for the north side. And again, you know, we were talking a little bit before about we joined the airport and the Logan TIFs together. And again, the Logan TIF makes a little bit of money from, you know, the Hy-Vee rebates are running out now from we helped them go across the street and expand there. So we'll start to see some more money generated to that TIF, but the airport TIF was making some. So the joining of those two TIF districts basically allowed us to have some cash to help make this deal happen and buy out Mr. Rappaport. As a part of this deal, then the city owns about 40 acres of land, 40 to 50 acres of land north of where you see the development occurring, so we can try and draw more medical, more retail, more jobs to the area.
No flowers this year.
And if you get that hotel going, we could be a minor of the mini Gales, and they have retail all over the place.
It's an exciting area out there.
Yeah.
The right-hand side is one of Paul's pools, parks, and golf courses, right?
Is this Gates? No.
Yes.
Yes.
Gates come all up far up. Oh, there.
Further to the south of Gates, we're not driving by, but is the Chamberlain site. They are doing some cleanup work right there in terms of putting down some testing materials and all that, and going through the EPA process. So we continue to work on that site.
Talk about where some
Well, it was sold to a different buyer, so we'll have to see what we can do now. But
where would it be? At the edge over here?
we were looking at the potential of some land. Basically, as we get past the golf course, there's some farmland, and one of the challenges we've had with the north side of town is if someone wanted to build some new housing, we don't have any new subdivisions on the north side, so we were looking at some options for that, and we thought this would be a great one in terms of you'd have the viability and the marketability of the golf course right next to you. In talking with the Grow Committee, and the realtors and all that, they still say that a golf course is very much an attractive neighbor. So it'd be this land right in here. Yeah.
And that's all been sold?
We were looking at buying it. Someone was offering it to us, but someone else bought it now. They couldn't wait for us.
That bought it, are they thinking about
I haven't seen a new name on the county system yet. Reportedly, they are not necessarily wanting to sell. So we'll have to see. There's actually 2 owners of all that land down there, so we may have to go for the next one. So we're heading out to the northeast site. I think you've heard the mayor talk about her before. You know, back in the 60s, the city of Waterloo, city of Cedar Falls, city of Hudson all annexed in a lot of land because the annexation laws are changing. So we are still in the city limits out here, even though it seems like we're in the county.
When was that?
Back in the 60s. We have an annexation map in our office if you ever want to come look at it, and it's funny that they all 61, 62. I mean, they're all.
Deer is all in the city limits.
Yes. Yep.
I had a guy call me.
And that's probably why we have so much land out here, is because we wanted to have land near them. Cedar Rapids, they had what the state was calling a mega site. And basically, I think they were trying to go for the big car dealership that ended up going to the southeast. But the state had contacted a lot of the municipalities about where would you put a mega site. I don't know if we have a specific site, but we are basically looking up in this area here because as we're north of Deer, we have heavy water, sewer, rail, and everything down there. So if we really wanted to have, and the mega site was 1,200 to 2,400 acres. So again, we brought the state officials here to talk about it, but they chose to go with the Cedar Rapids. We're going for large projects for the state of Iowa. The state of Iowa is just basically working with the municipalities to say where would you put one to get some ideas and feedback.
And on our left, we have John Deere Factory.
Yes.
Where the infamous Sharon Shoe.
I keep saying on your right because I'm looking this way, but yes.
Did you hear that part?
What's that?
Where the infamous Sharon Shoe used to work.
Really? That explains a lot now.
Yeah, they have.
Well, why they're so good. Why they're so good.
Yeah.
Well, and John Deere's been a great partner to us in this area, and of course we have the Northeast Industrial Park. We'll swing back down through in a minute, but the reason it's all out there is because Deere was out there. We wanted to have sites. That was really where the industrial parks in Cedar Falls started to get created, and they were putting some Deere type industries out there. So Waterloo created an industrial park closer to Deere to try and keep some of those industries here.
I do still get a pension from that.
So we're on North Elk Run Road right now. There's some upcoming meetings. If you'd like to attend one, I can get you those dates. But essentially, we're looking at the MPO has Metropolitan Planning Organization has the federal road dollars. So we are looking at a study of the entire North Elk Run Road area.
Finally.
Exactly. It's been in the plan for years, and
40 years.
it's about 750,000 I think that we have for the study, and we're looking at capacity, turning movements, but mainly it's because there's a high amount of truck traffic here.
We're going to have a work session on it in a couple of weeks.
Okay, and we're going to have a work session on it in a couple weeks.
Oh, good.
Somebody told me.
But the problem is how are we going to find the money
For the build. Well, and they'll have different options out there. You'll see about, do you make improvements to the existing roads? Do you try to bring a new road right off of I-380? So they're looking at some different options out there. And of course, as we identify the options, one of the things we think will be helpful then if there is a stimulus plan or something like that federally, we would have it ready to go. Because we'll be going through several of the federal process steps.
Rod Larson's plan?
No.
I mean, do you remember Rod Larson?
I remember Rod, yeah.
He had a plan that would just take it all around, but it totally did away with the existing road.
60 million, yeah. On the right-hand side, we just passed, or your left, I guess, as you're looking forward, we just passed the road, the land that we're going to annex in, and we're putting in the TIF. We're buying right by the tannery building, so again, it's just cornfield, but this is the Northeast Industrial Park TIF. Out here you mainly have facilities serving deer and rail serving facilities. So you have a seed facility there that utilizes the rail. We have Warren Transport over here. Of course, we pass by deer. Tyson is over here on the right-hand side, getting ready to do their expansion. You'll actually be seeing something coming up on the council agenda in the near future for the truck wash area.
This is Tyson.
This is the truck wash here. Tyson's right there. You can see they're starting construction on their expansion.
Did we already go past Warren?
One of the Warren sites was back there, along the, it was a little ways in.
How many jobs is Tyson supposed to be in?
245.
They're going to add that many?
Yeah. You can see, here's a perfect example of why we're looking at some of the capacity improvements of trucks stopping on the road. They're backed up to get in. The truck wash back there is looking to get a new owner on it to potentially do some improvements there and all that. There's guys washing their trucks as they're standing there. So
Now, what building is that over there? I'm turned around.
that is Ferguson Industries. So they're the nation's largest supplier of plumbing facilities, plumbing supplies. We helped them come here in 2004. That's a 608,000 square foot building, but they have leveled it out so they could expand up to 1 million square feet. That was about 218 jobs when we brought them here. I think they're up to about 236 now. We're on MLK Road. This was built under the Interstate Substitution Program. As you can see, in some areas it's 3 lanes, 4 lanes, and 2 lanes. We actually have enough right-of-way in here for probably 4 to 6 lanes. So again, we were trying to plan ahead for future growth in this area. Yes, they are. I think they're our 5th largest employer, 4th or 5th or something like that. So we went by that, yeah.
Before we got to Warren?
Before we turned off Elk Run. It was right across, Warren was on this side, the tannery's right across the street. I couldn't talk fast enough, sorry.
Now I got to pay more attention. We got to talk fast. If you would have had an agenda, I could have followed.
I'd have to plan then.
I know. Where's the company that Jim Creek went to?
Who?
Jim Creek. Remember Jim?
Yes.
Had a plant in St. Paul's.
I don't know where he went to Medicoat.
Yeah.
So they've closed their facility out here, but there is
They
Crown.
did?
The Crown Group is up here, but Medicoat's in Cedar Falls now.
Okay. Well, they had 2 sites before.
Yeah.
They just have one.
Yeah.
And then what was across the street from Medical? There was a
Ryder. So there's the Ryder building right there coming up on our right-hand side.
Okay.
And again, that's in the Northeast Industrial Park area. Immediately behind you is the 80 acres we bought from Willard Frost, I want to say 2 years ago. We're going to be doing some floodplain improvements on that to take it out of the floodplain. So again, these are some of the larger sites that we have to show to large groups out here. Because we have heavy water and sewer in this area, a lot of the projects that we look at are larger projects or need more turning radiuses for the rail turnoff and all that. Right behind you is the pre-treatment facility as well, so that's where all the Tyson stuff, all the tannery stuff goes into before it goes down to the treatment plant.
It's theirs or cities?
That's the cities, but all their stuff goes in there, and we get paid for it. This is a small 10-acre, 7-acre site right here, owned by Willard. 10-acre site. So again, we've probably got about 300 acres in this entire area of land that we own that we're
It's
working
ready
on.
for development, or
Some of it's ready, some of it's not. So we're working to expand water, sewer, road systems, and all that to it. And the Waterworks has been a great partner. We had a prospect down here just on the left-hand side of this intersection where they did not have a water line, and the Waterworks actually switched some plans they had to build that water line to help try and draw the prospect here. The project's not dead, they're just not moving ahead this construction season. But again, here, straight across from here on the right-hand side is the Northeast Industrial Park, Ryder Dedicated Logistics, the Crown Group, ABC Supply. Control over here has multiple buildings, and Greg Transportation's up there, but Control's been looking to expand as well, so we're working with them on some potential out. They're in about 3 or 4 buildings out here right now, so they've been a good partner. Over here on the other side of this creek on the right-hand side, again, the city has about 50 acres right here. Last year we extended water and sewer right through the middle of it. We're planning on going for some RISE funding in the near future to put a road system through there. That would create about 8 to 10 lots on that side that would be ready to go.
I'm sorry, I'm behind you. On Control, is that the same Control that was out close to the airport?
No, this is a different one. It stands for like, that was Control of Facts.
Control of Facts. And
They went out of business. Yep. God, you are listening though.
I am. I'm trying desperately. I'm just about 10 behind you.
Again, we have a 2-lane road here, but we actually have enough right-of-way to have 4 to 6 lanes. Bike trail. You know, and actually, we've actually heard that there's a lot of people that work at Tyson that utilize this bike trail to go to work. So
That's because they don't have a license.
You probably took it away from them.
They took it away from themselves.
Dan's got the bike patrol over here going. Come here. This is a city-owned land. You'll be seeing something come to council. That was the group wanted to buy that and put a Dollar General there.
No.
They've actually come back and they're going to represent that to you. Also right behind us, this is the Phillips land. The Phillips family would like to see that get developed, so we've been talking to them about some different options. And again, this area probably on the south side of the first road up there would make good commercial and then residential to the north. Mr. Phillips has his house up there, so it's a very nice house. Be some,
Back up there?
it was right back there, yeah. Right behind the trees to the left of you
Get arrested while trying to work in.
is a Union Pacific Railroad. It's their main little location in this area. We're in the Union Pacific Railroad part of the city now for rail service. So their area, their main area is back there.
That church right there, though.
What's that?
Church right there. That one there could potentially be a part of the Smoky Road thing as far as
Well,
that
could that be part of
Okay.
Does it come that far out?
I texted John to get a hold of you and get you the information. So
Is there a top to the water tower? Where's the top?
there should be a top up there. Waterloo. So that is all Waterworks land. It would show up in the city of Waterloo's name.
Did you try to climb it?
Not me, you know.
Oh,
You may recall back in under Governor Culver, they had the Vision Iowa program or the iJobs program, and we were fortunate to get Riverfront Renaissance money through the iJobs program. We got some money to build the public works facility.
was that how we built that one?
Yeah, we got $5 million for that, and then we came up with the rest with city money.
Yeah.
We've acquired one house over there to make that entrance a little bit better. It was a dilapidated house.
Now what tip are we in?
We are
Or not in a tip?
They were just us that around.
I was gonna say, are we in or out of the Rath? Yeah, we're really close to the Rath area, Tiff. I'm trying to remember if it actually includes the site. It probably does.
Close.
Yeah.
You've been out the market on Saturday night.
There's the front door to the Public Works building. The cool thing about the Public Works building is we actually saved a existing 25,000 square foot concrete block building that was there. So in terms of brownfield redevelopment, that's exactly what they love to see.
What was there before? What was it?
It was the old CMC Construction and Machinery Company, and it had been arson, burned, and all that several times. Yeah, so it was a nice eyesore to get down. We actually got the owner to donate all of it to us. We're coming up to the Rath area here. Vinton Street, so the city actually has, I want to say we have 4 or 5 or 6 lots in this area from dilapidated houses. So again, what we're trying to do as we're looking at these abandoned houses and tearing them down is we're trying to group some of them together as much as we can, like we did in the Walnut area, and hopefully at some point we can get a developer or Habitat or somebody to come back along here and do some infill development. So a lot of these empty lots are owned by the city in this area. B&G Materials, kind of an old railroad building sitting there, but the railroad spur is taken out. So those are the types of things at some point we look at, hey, can we eliminate that out of the residential area, move them to an industrial area, and then go back for some infill housing at some point. This is the Rath area on the right-hand side. Again, we talked about the Human Services campus a little bit. So there was some Rath land in there that the city owned from the Rath bankruptcy, and then we moved standard forwarding right from this area here. So you have the Northeast Food Bank, Operation Threshold, and the Department of Corrections. The Rath Administration Building is still back there. We're putting together an RFP for that. We have 3 or 4 housing groups that would like to look at that. So we're hopeful that we can redevelop that.
From the last person?
Yes.
So
We actually 657'd it back. It was a cleaner process instead of having him sign documents back to us.
okay, so it's ours.
Yep, it's ours again.
They're going to turn that into apartment complexes.
They're looking at, the possibility of like 70 to 75 apartment units. You can see there's still some dilapidated units along in this area that we'll continue to look at.
Oh, there's Mr. What's his name?
That little blue building back there is SJ Construction. We moved them out of the East 8th area because they wanted to expand there into this industrial area because that's where we put the new housing. And then Crystal, this is their new expansion right here. This last part where you can see kind of the bridge from the main building to this last building, but that's about a 30,000 square foot expansion for them, 5.6 million, but it gives them about 90,000 cubic feet of cold storage.
But nobody's in the Kill building.
That's like
right?
70 degrees below zero when that thing is up and going for some of the freezing. So they are utilizing those older buildings at this time.
Is anybody in the Kill building?
Crystal uses all that for cold storage. Yep. But yeah, the Kill building's gone.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's gone.
that one's
Okay.
the one that they're there. This is the 18th Street Bridge, so this was rebuilt utilizing some RISE funds, some MPO funds, and some city funds. So we looked at different options because of the industrial area there. We were able to get some RISE money to help us with that. Johnny B Construction, you can see, is building another building back here. He's built some small little infill commercial buildings right in there. A lot at the corners, the cities we're looking at redeveloping, but this whole area back behind me, we've really seen some good use and reuse as we've taken down some dilapidated homes. We've had some small businesses located in there on the 60-foot by 150-foot lots that helps bring small businesses and jobs down near downtown area to help feed that entire area. Behind you on the left here is a former Prairie construction site, so they still own a lot of that. They've sold off parts of it in pieces to some small businesses, but that's one we still need to get redeveloped right on the highway.
Are they even in business anymore?
No. Highway 218 up in front of us, of course, again, it was the interstate substitution program, so that's why there's lights on it. But that big green space in the middle is actually there in case you would ever want to go back and put it as a freeway. So the green space that was left there is where you'd put the roadway system back in to make it free-flowing as an interstate if you wanted to in the future, as traffic continues to mount up.
One design was to plant corn in there.
Really?
Yes.
That'd have been interesting. Mama Nick's Pizzeria, if you remember back when they had the fire and they rebuilt, we actually vacated, I think, like an alley and a street to give them some more land to do their addition and get a bigger parking lot. So again,
Oh, that dates you.
that's kind of a good example of how we're trying to help these smaller businesses as well as gain the larger ones as well. Right here's a new infill site, the Dollar Tree. That was an old block building.
That was bad.
You can see on the other side over here, Cadillac Lanes, they've got a new sign up that says Extreme, so they're looking at adding new things there. They've got an arcade in there and all that. So again, we're in talks with how can we help them make some of those things come to fruition. We're now on the LaPorte Road stretch. Again, we have MPO funds to start looking at the LaPorte Road stretch. We'll be looking at, I don't come up with good names. I'll think of a good name for it.
What's a good name?
This is a Shark District? No. We'll be looking at basically where we came on that turnoff at Cadillac Lanes all the way down to Lost Island as LaPorte turns into Hess. We're going to have some money this October for a study to look at this whole corridor. As you can see right here, we have 4 lanes of LaPorte. We have like 8 to 10 lanes of Highway 218, and then some places we have a frontage road, some places we don't. So we're looking at the general traffic movements and
All
usability.
the cars at Enterprise.
At Enterprise, yeah.
Wow.
Again, that's MPO money that we're utilizing there. We'll be looking at doing a study. The next year we'll be looking at doing a design, and then we'll take a year off, and then we'll look at doing construction, probably over 3 phases. The reason we're taking a year off, the reason we're taking a year off is so we want to make sure we're done with university before we start construction on LaPorte. So I'm trying to plan.
Talk about beautification as part of.
Oh God, I guess so. Yeah, we will.
I want it to look
Yeah,
nice. It
I mean,
looks crap.
like every other corridor, I think we'll be looking at how many roads, lanes we need for usability, for functionability, for economic development, but also looking at the trails, the sidewalks for other patterns of movement other than just cars.
Good. But they still look nice.
So back there is the Panera site, the new fire station, and the CVS. As you recall, this is where the fire station was. They actually gave us enough money to go build a brand new one there.
Is it that important to them to have a corner?
It was. That's what they want.
Just nuts.
Where the Panera building was, originally when I came to the city, that was snow storage, and they said we'll never sell it. So I had to. No.
T. Meyer tell you
Had to do it. But that was a good sale for the Panera. Back behind that, then again, you can see the Freddy's and the Carlos O'Kelly's and the new Tokyo building and all that. So again, Ben's done a good job bringing Planet Fitness here. Obviously, I don't go there, but some people do. But really, this is a good segue right in here as you get into the San Martin corridor with LaPorte.
Is anybody talking to you about how to redesign?
And you forgot to ask, we're in the Crossroads TIF now.
Yeah. Oh, we are.
Yep.
We got a name for it.
We got Crossroads TIF.
Okay. Is anybody looking at making that whole site look better? Because it looks like crap.
Over at Crossroads.
Well, the whole Crossroads circle.
We have been talking to the owners. Hopefully we'll continue to talk to them and see some action from them. They seem to think that they'll get tenants in there, and we're trying to push them to try to do some things.
I thought there was some talk about turning that into housing.
Yeah.
They always talk about that with malls nationwide. And it's not necessarily a bad idea to bring some things there. Back there where some of the hotels were in this hotel, so when we put it in the TIF, we were able to give rebates to help draw some things here. Some people would ask, why would you need to do that? A good example of that last hotel is there was actually a sewer line cutting across that whole site, so they had an extra $300,000 in costs to relocate that sewer line. So we gave them some extra in rebates to help them mitigate that cost and make the site move ahead.
I remember you were so surprised that the hotel, when the first hotel would go there, and then several of them would follow suit. But I guess the competition would be different.
One of the other things we'll be looking at as part of the LaPorte Road thing specifically is there's some really weird right-of-way portions in here that I'd like to get cleaned up so we could have some more development sites hopefully along here. I mean, you can see the DOT fence is about 100 and some feet back from this area up here, so why couldn't you have development on this side? So again, there'll be things we're looking at as we're looking at that whole corridor. And again, the difference between kind of up where we were in LaPorte with the frontage roads and the highway and all that is you get down to this end, as we see increased development down here at Lost Island and all that, we'd like to look at the ability to potentially make this a 3-lane road or improve it a little bit with some trail systems and all that so you could get down to this area. How are we doing for time? Coming up on the left is the casino and the Lost Island Water Park. The majority of the land, where the casino was owned by Birch, but Gary Birch with Birch Manufacturing has bought a lot of this land and redeveloped that.
A lot of this out here?
He bought some from the DOT, bought some from the previous landowners. He actually owns some on the south side of Shawless as well. So hopefully we'll continue to see great things happen out here.
We're going to see the cute little houses. No. That was back, yeah. Those are just cute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't think you could see much up the hill, but at the campground, he has a lot of pressure from people wanting to buy those cabins, and of course they're only for rent. But he does own the land on this side of the pond as well, so they're looking at doing some residential there, and that's been a constant point of discussion of do you put certain design criteria.
Yeah, well.
On this side, he's talked about putting some along the pond and if they'd have certain design criteria to look like cabins or something like that, or if they'd make them for rent like the other side, they don't know. Freedom Drive, the Hawkeye put in to try to help some of their traffic congestion, all being off of Orange so they can come off of this road as well. Of course, Hawkeye's continued to expand their campus the last couple of years with their athletic facility and some additional smaller buildings. We're coming up on Hawkeye Community College campus. You can see the Arboretum over here on the right-hand side. On your left-hand side, of course, we have some residential development, which has been crucial to having some student housing nearby the college campus as well.
Own a lot of that?
Yes, he does.
That's great. That's great.
Hawkeye just put up a whole new signage system to try and help pass along information, help people get along through their campus. Of course, the last couple of years they've added a couple buildings, including their wellness center, as they've adding sports to some of their things out here, some limited sports for their students. So again, they continue to be a great partner for Waterloo, and of course we're now going to be building some houses with them. So
Yeah.
we're very excited about that.
What building is that? Do you know?
That's Buchanan Hall there.
No. It is?
Yeah, right there in the front.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought we were past
Do that because there's a giant sign on it.
The one before that was, is it Blackhawk Bremer
That's the
Buchanan?
only reason you do. And he tries to come across as being so smart. Okay, whose farm is that?
Hawkeyes.
Is that their student farm?
That's a farm that they actually run, yeah, for their students. This is Hammond Avenue, obviously. This is another one that's been on the radar for quite some time with our MPO funds, and we're continuing to looking at trying to move it up to make some improvements to this road system because of Hawkeye being at that end. Now, granted, we have Highway 21 right over there, and we came back down on the other, but yeah, yep. Here's a leisure services property. But we'll continue to look at that. It's just not at the top of the list.
Do you have a process where you go by prioritizing
For the road systems, really it's planning and engineering. Planning and engineering it together and kind of look at the priorities. We look at the traffic numbers.
I find it hard to believe this would be a priority.
It is because of the Hawkeye location down there, but like I said, it hasn't moved up yet because Kimball, LaPorte, all the others, Ridgeway will probably come before it. So it continues to be on the list, but it's hard to get to the top because, again, it doesn't have great traffic numbers up there. Now we are improving a bridge down further that was on the other side to the south of us because that's where Hawkeye has their truck training center. So we wanted to make sure that those trucks could go across that bridge. It was not rated for the trucks that they were driving, so they were having to go around it. So we finally got some funds to get to that and get that improved for them. So again, we try to work with them as best we can with the funds that we have.
Yes,
Oh.
the new trail.
Here's a new Shawless Road trail.
Takes me.
But yeah, I mean, this is a great trail system all the way from Lost Island down to back to 63, and we're looking to go out into the county. We're doing it in phases with the grant, so it'll hook onto the American Discovery Trail. And that's a huge connection for the entire area in terms of the people that want to go out and do a large loop.
Do we still have the farthest northern point in that Discovery Trail?
I believe so. Yeah,
That's our
I believe.
claim to fame. Kind of cool.
Someone's going to do an extension, and we'll have to do one. But
There you go. I don't want anybody built north of
You just have to annex Minnesota.
There you go. I want a lake. They've got so many.
of course, this is their other site that they've been doing some expansions at in the
Are they
recent
doing
couple of
more
years.
expansions out here?
They don't have anything actively going on here while they're doing that one, but they have some plans that they're working on for long-range master planning. So
We gotta compete with what's involved.
with Western Home, yeah, I'd agree.
Do they have any more land out there?
They have a lot, yes. So out this window, you can see way back there the Hummingbird Circle area. If you want to go back about 6-7 years, there's about 4 houses out there, but now there's probably 130 houses back there. So it was a mixture of Skogman. I believe John Roof built a couple over there as well, and then Robson Homes. Funny thing, at one point HUD called and said, we're not going to help you with any flood money to go build those because what if that blows up behind you? And I said, well, if that blows up, I'm going to need money to buy all these houses on the other side of San Martin. So the guy came back and said, well, it's not going to blow up, but it's going to leak, and it's going to leak over there because it was within their distance. And I said, well, it'd have to be magical oil or whatever gas because it'd have to go uphill. So we sent them some topo maps, and they came back and approved it. So we almost didn't get the funding for it, but sometimes you just got to provide them with more information.
But they're gonna base all of that on the fact that that may blow.
Yeah, oh yeah. The interesting thing is, in talking with Mid-America, that is built to be a self-contained site. So if it actually did leak, it should stay within their boundary. Yeah. We don't want to test it, but
No.
It might take you longer than somebody else, but it takes
so we're going on the San Martin corridor. The last time we did some large improvements along here, I want to say there was one of them right back there, the right in, right out, was probably back in 1998. What we looked at doing with some of those right in, right outs was to basically try to make some places where you could get from the frontage road to San Martin without going through the intersections to help alleviate some of the traffic at the intersections.
The ambulance.
We also put in the ambulance connection there with the push button, but again, there'll be one coming up here that we just recently put in with the Kimball project that, again, adds some additional lanes and all that over here to give you some more options to get in and out.
Do you know when the Ridgeway stuff is going to come in?
I don't know if he has a timeline yet, does he? I don't know. I'll find out.
Been started?
I'll ask him. I thought did they start it or they start putting together the RFP, but I'll find out. So we just did the Kimball Avenue project a year or so ago, and again, as part of that, we started to put in some of these turn lanes, some of the different options of getting in and out of different areas instead of making everyone go back through this intersection.
It helped a lot to have that.
Fairway?
That fairway.
Yes.
That was huge.
And of course, the majority of Kimball went from 4 lanes to 5 lanes. We also did some major storm sewer improvements up at Park Lane that people don't realize what. We try to do more than one thing while we're there and have it dug up. That's really helped that area too. But yeah, then the fairway entrance here has been great for getting in and out of that area. Because again, otherwise you're sending it back into the intersection and bottling up both those intersections there and at Brookfield. So, Brookside. Again, we're in the San Martin TIF now. We've utilized RISE funds before to go back behind Tower Park for the Cedar Valley Medical and the CBE buildings. We'll be looking at utilizing potentially some more RISE funds to build out some of these street systems in here as we move ahead. Here's the Kimball Beecher building. Back behind that is where the new Taylor Veterinary building is going to go up. So they've started some construction there. Country Club Business Park is coming up again. And again, looking at the San Martin corridor, the Country Club, that was all built by Cardinal Construction. They built in all the roads, water, sewer, fiber, all that stuff, road lights. And again, that's why it looks like we give additional rebates, because we have absolutely no debt specifically in their Country Club Business Center, because that was all put in by the private developer, whereas some others would have went in there. We give incentives to give them a similar package as to what they would get from another community, as if the other community had built all the roads and all that.
How many lots are left out there? How much land is not developed factory yet?
There's kind of that 40 acres in the middle. It was just bought by the Dearys. But otherwise, you have the Hearst here, the Country Club here, and then the Dearys own the land in the middle. And so that'll make that connection at some point with Tower Park or Fitzway will connect all the way through, so you can get from Tower Park over to here. Of course, over to our left, we're going to be turning is the VGM, and of course, they just did their recent expansion of $18 million. Are they really?
Already talking about another.
And they've always kind of they have a large planned out campus that we're just waiting for the pieces to fall into place. And again, as a result of them doing that, it motivated Quickstar to come over here and build. And again, you know, the definition of a business park in the Iowa DOT standards talks about having the professional offices and things like that, but also having those service type industries where you can go get that. I think it is. That it's a higher elevation here, so they're really about the same.
Did you ever get back to those people?
I did. He's supposed to be getting me something. Back over there too, that red building was Granger, so they do service supplies and things like that. When we did the development agreement with them, they actually bought additional land as well, so they could get rebates on it. They could do an expansion there.
Not on Fifth Street anymore?
It was a different one. It was a different type. Yeah. Right behind you guys here on the left-hand side is the South Waterloo Business Park. So the city owns 110 acres, I think, right now of the 180.
Anybody in it?
Nobody's in it yet. We're still buying the land with TIF funds as we can. So I think we've got about 5 years left in the agreement with the Hollis family. What we might look at doing is putting in the first road system back there, possibly next year. We'll have to look at what we want to do with the RISE funds and where to put them. But
That'd be nice to start developing them.
We've had some large leads look at it, just nothing has landed yet. One of the difficulties of providing infrastructure to it without a project is the water and everything and the road will come from this side, but we have to bring the sewer from the Tower Park side. Now when they built Highway 20, they did plan ahead and put a sleeve under the road of where it'll go, but it's still going to be a long distance to bring the sewer. You may recall one of the things the sewer department though is working on is they've made improvements to that lift station there at Kimball and San Martin, and they're going to build a new system up over, they'll go back behind Walmart eventually there to help alleviate some of the system down through the 9th Street area. So again, that'll help serve that area as well. We're now on Shawless Road.
Nice to have just a business.
We'll get it out.
Could that be it?
That could be it. I mean, mostly business part.
What?
Mostly business, yeah.
Yeah. No, all business.
We got to put something good at the corner.
No. No.
We're now on Shawless Road. For those of you that have been here long enough, Shawless used to be missing in the middle from 21 over to Amesboro. So again, this is kind of the missing link segment that went in. Receives a lot of traffic. It's a great system to serve all of the southern part of Waterloo, and it helps alleviate traffic on San Martin by allowing people coming from the southwest to go to the southeast or
You are going
middle
to my
part.
house.
We are, for trees.
Okay.
You can see over here we have one of our subdivisions, the Audubon Park area. There's actually two different areas being built here at the southern end and one at the northern end by Highway 20 right now.
Is it all Skogman?
This is Skogman at this end. At the northern end is Lederman, and I believe he's working with LG Homes.
And where's Amy? Is Amy with Skogman?
Amy, I think, sells for Skogman at times. They have relationships, I think, with a couple of different ones.
Okay, so you're
We can always use more subdivisions, more lots. We continually have people not able to find the houses, or one of the difficulties, Skogman does a great job, but if you don't want Skogman as your builder, it's difficult to find another lot because they sell them.
developed on it.
Yeah, I believe so. Back when they did the interstate substitution, they actually did some improvements to Shawless Road in here. There used to actually be two bridges over here on West 4th. And so they actually changed the route of West 4th there to create it to one bridge instead of two, just by the orientation of where the creek comes through, or the drainage way.
And it's nice.
There's one of your tornado sirens that you hear Sandy talk about.
You know, Gary Iverson used to live there. Yeah, but no kids, no people.
And back over there is the Nottingham subdivision. Where they built a couple new houses. Years back under Mayor Hurley. Under Mayor Hurley, we actually put in a large sewer system to serve the Audubon Park area that's allowed the existing subdivision that's under construction now to move ahead. That'll actually serve a large amount of acreage on the south side of Shawless as well. So again, we went through the drainage system to extend that sewer system to open up as much residential land as we could.
Noel, do we have anything on Audubon at all on that extra property, Audubon Park? Not Audubon,
Prairie Grove, is there anything what?
We have a couple of lots there that we're looking at.
We're looking at the potential of that. We need to meet with you and your staff about that, but
Part of that.
back there at 4th and Shawless, we're looking at a lot of city properties to look at what we're going to call property optimization and look at the size of the park, what's needed to function as a park, what's used now, and then we got to look at drainage ways, easements, and all that, and infrastructure, getting it there, and then see if there's anything we can create. And we've started to put together some of those maps. We're going to meet with engineering, and then we're going to meet with leisure. As you may recall, now we're in the Martin Road TIF.
Yeah.
We expanded the Martin Road TIF down here to Shawless, mainly because we wanted to put in a new water line to help the fire department get water to the west side of Highway 63, and to help A-line striping go into here.
Run another water line then?
Yep, there's water on this side of the road now. A-line striping's in that second or third building back there, so they expanded as part of the project. But that way they didn't have to run fire hose across the street to serve that area. But yeah, this is all getting in the Martin Road TIF. There's a couple of buildings that should be under construction right behind me. There's a new building built by Chris Fischels. Or no, I'm sorry, his will be right behind it. And there's M&K, and they're actually going to do an expansion there. So again, there's some housing back there as well. Yep, so there's some housing back behind the lots. The lots right on the highway are being built for commercial and industrial. They'll work as a buffer to the houses and have some screening in place. But you hate to not utilize the Highway 63 area for commercial businesses. Does it go?
TIF go.
The TIF goes over basically, I have to show you on a map, but basically over to the vacant areas of where it's zoned industrial. We don't pick up any residential.
And what about on this side?
Same thing. It goes over their ways.
Should the soccer field or something?
Yeah, yep. This is another trail system here that actually connects. We just went by it, but it connects back in there into the Cedar Falls trail system, the Cedar Prairie Trail connection. Very nice, leisurely, wooded area. We're coming up at the Highway 20 intersection. On the other side, of course, we'll have the Greyhound Park demolition. The Love's Travel was recently built. And that is looking very nice.
That sign is much taller.
Ed's probably
taller.
Ed's taping that Greyhound demolition right away. I'm trying to change the subject on
That
the
sign
Sharon.
is much taller. Look at
It's
that
all
sign.
perspective.
No, that's huge.
I'll take you on a drive on Highway 20 as to why it needs to be that tall.
Well, you told me and I believe you. That thing is tall.
Right behind me here is the Cedar Valley Crossing area that was recently in the paper. So we have a group out of Des Moines that's buying the 30 acres from Rick Young right here. They're looking at expanding the southern end of Marnie Drive to come down here and go into a cul-de-sac.
What was that back?
The Cedar Valley Crossing group that was in the paper just recently, they're going to do a 10-lot subdivision on about 30 acres. So we'll be working with them to expand Marnie Avenue to the south. Again, back when we expanded the Martin Road, we got Wilbert Burial Vault, then Rainsoft, and the post office, and all those to come locate out here. Originally, all that land was vacant because it competes directly if you go straight on Ridgeway to the Cedar Falls Industrial Park, but then you had incentives there and not here. So when we expanded the Martin Road area in 2005, it helped us to compete for those things. There's a Quick Start Fuels facility back there by Denso that was just recently built. And here's Budweiser and Farr Beverage. This is where we're building the sewer, and of course Cardinal Construction will be building back behind that.
Where is Cardinal Construction going? 'Cause I drove
They are
around
going
and
to
I
go
couldn't figure it out.
right as we get past O'Neill.
Will you access from 63?
You will access from Martin Road. So they'll be right straight back there by the tree line. Back on this side, of course, Fusion Dance and Black Hawk Gymnastics was recently built. They are working with some more prospects, but again, that was an old dump site, so we gave some extra incentives in that area to try and make up that cost. They're actually about a year and a half behind their schedule for some construction over there because they've had some problems with creating the compacted fill that they needed because of all the junk they're running into as they dig. Here's the former Manor Care facility coming up, and again,
There's nothing in there now.
it's
right?
empty now, so that's a problematic area because it's surrounded entirely by residential for a reuse. We'll continue to look at that and see what we can do.
And who owns it?
It's owned by,
Whoever owns it.
I can't think of his name. He was trying to turn that into that veterans resource area and all that, but he really didn't have a lot of funds in place yet to do it, and the neighbors were concerned with that.
Yeah.
Is the old Summit Fields.
Baseball, yeah.
So these are actually
Still
owned.
there?
They're actually owned by the school system.
So nobody uses it, right?
Just neighbors. The schools actually own it. They would like to transfer it to us. We'd like to find a developer that would want to go build there. So we're looking at that site to try and utilize it for something. We're coming up on 6 63 and University, and of course University is a large project that we're working on. One of the things we're going to be looking at doing is taking out, there's a full-size bridge over here that the trail goes under. The reason that's a full-size bridge is because it used to be a railroad there when they built it. So now that it's not, we'll be taking that bridge out so it won't have to go up that high. It'll be flatter so you can see further down. And we'll be putting in like a smaller tunnel system for the trail to go under.
Wasn't this all Waterloo Industries dump site?
They're further back where the free log site was the old Wiseman Industry site. Yep.
But you cleaned
That is a contaminated site, so it can be used for commercial and industrial.
raised it? Oh, okay.
That's where my mind was. I was thinking about that.
Tim Hurley called this the 40 feet of frustration. You may recall one of our first phases of the 63 project was we made this connection through here. Again, the reason it wasn't there originally was because the train came along here, so they couldn't get the crossing. So this has allowed a lot more traffic movements in this whole area.
Was Tim's accident here?
What's that?
Was Tim the first accident here?
Oh, did he have an accident here? I didn't know that.
Well, everybody who worked there was sure there was going to be one, so.
You can see back there, Deere is doing another, I think it's a 50,000 square foot expansion under their building right back there. Of course, here we have the Cedar Valley Tech Works buildings 1 and 2. The second one's now the Marriott. They do have some outlots that we'll be discussing in the near future with the council about how to develop those outlots that are created mainly behind these 2 buildings. But there's some additional land there. There are some environmental covenants that go with that. So again, we've got to look at what uses would go there. You may also recall we were the recipient of the Iowa Reinvestment District from the state of Iowa. As a part of that, we vowed to put in a marina. So we are looking at the site west of Manats. It is owned by Cedar Valley Tech Works for a marina system. A marina. We have to do that as part of the IRD or we will lose $14 million. So it helps score the thing to get the IRD. There's no specifics on what the what the marina has to entail, but we're working with some developers about some exciting things that we think should be included in it and see what we can come up with.
We're thinking about battery powered boats, the toy ones.
Little.
We lost the ability to connect the link to the river now.
It doesn't look good.
DNR said that years ago that they wouldn't let
Yeah.
us do
Well, then they kind of said yes, and now they've kind of said no again. So hopefully we have some MPO funds for that. Hopefully we can redirect those for marina development, shore development, all that. But again, that would be right back over here. And the reason it would be there, you can see those trees. Those trees are on the river side of the levee, so there's some dead water, we'll call it, in there.
It would be the cattle conference back behind cattle.
No, we want to have it down in this area.
It won't be by.
It has to be by the IRD is a defined 20-acre area, so it has to be in there. Back behind me here, of course, is the Grand Crossing 1 and 2. The U.S. Bank building, a lot of people forget, was actually moved here for the Upper Plaza to happen. So again, we've done a lot of reinvestment in this whole area, kind of putting the pieces together. The Dupaco building was put there to make the Sportsplex have the site that it's on, as well as Operation Threshold moving to the Rath area. So again, I think we've had a lot of good partnerships with some businesses in this area to make some things happen.
Is that housing going to start at the Center for the Arts soon?
Yes, they might be starting now. It's all fenced off and ready to go. So.
Are they going to have parking underground?
Yes, they will. They'll have parking under their building and under the Upper Plaza.
Will some of that be open to the public?
No.
You know Hawkeye's.
Now.
No, you know Hawkeye has
He was talking.
parking in there.
I know originally we had talked about that and they said they were not going to be against it. They just didn't want it to mess up their programming, and they will have some night programming, so it'll be kind of touch and go to see what we can do. We should probably talk to them.
Yeah, at least you can have it after hours or something.
Well, they have some night classes too, so it'll depend on what days exactly. Here's the Center for the Arts, so we will be looking at to redo their parking lot. That with the connection with adding some parking to Cedar Street and all that, I think we're going to add about, I want to say 100 parking stalls to that whole area as we redevelop it, including that includes the 30-stall parking lot that was built as part of the single-speed project. But we didn't want to start that while they're doing the Upper Plaza work, because you would have cut off a lot of parking in one specific area.
Are those apartments going in by the Center for the Arts? flooded 7.
Yeah, you could see it standing up. The ground's all tore up. So yeah,
That's great.
so they're out there hitting it.
Is Dawson doing that?
Yeah, he's very excited about it. Behind us is a convention and a hotel. Obviously, we're waiting to finalize some financial documents on there to go ahead and get that conveyed over, but it just takes a little time sometimes.
Okay, let's see if I can pull up this machine.
Then lastly, just, we were just talking with somebody about flooding. One of the differences between the 2008 and the 2016 flood is we made some improvements to a lot of these. You can see one of the pump stations back there, but we had $17 million in state CDBG and federal CDBG money to put in these lift stations to help alleviate flooding in times of flooding, but flooding on this side from the stormwater. So there's a door to the one right there.
Oh, they're big.
And there's, I forget, was there 4 commercial and 3 residential, or the other way?
Lift station.
6 new ones and 3 have. That's great. So